Thank you for being with us tonight. As a survivor of sexual assault at a fraternity party at an Ivy League college over 40 years ago, what I remember most distinctly was the humiliation, the shame, and the fear that I felt running out into the dark, bitter cold night. I remember the sound of the pounding music. I remember the faces of the crowd jeering and laughing. I remember the shock and the surprise that I felt from the attack. What I don't remember the date. It was likely a Saturday night during my first winter on campus. I don't remember the time. I'd guess it was likely around midnight after an evening of dancing and fun. But I will never forget my assailant, a classmate egged on by his fraternity brothers. I tell this story not because it is remarkable or unique. Sadly, I tell this story because it is all too common. Let's be clear. Sexual assault perpetuates the gender hierarchy. Assailants have the luxury of forgetting, based upon their lack of respect and empathy for their prey. But survivors, we can never forget, however hard we may try over the years to bury those flashes of memory. Despite our best efforts, our trauma lives on in the nooks and crannies of our minds, only to resurface again when we are reminded of the unfairness. I never told a soul about my attack for 40 years. What if no one believed me? What would have come of it? I was ashamed, I was humiliated, and I was afraid. But trust me on this, if my assailant was ever nominated for a lifetime appointment to the United States Supreme Court, where he would decide the fate and the future of women and girls across this great nation for generations to come, I would report every detail. If you believe, as I do, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's recollection of the sexual assault by Brett Kavanaugh, it seems to me there are three possibilities to describe Judge Kavanaugh's lack of memory of the events that Professor Ford describes. Number one, he cannot remember because he's not being truthful. Number two, he cannot remember because his memory was impaired from alcohol. Or number three, the most sinister of all, he does not remember because that evening was not remarkable or even distinguishable from other parties in his past. That is the basis of privilege and the core structure of gender discrimination in our society. No person is entitled to a seat on the United States Supreme Court, just as no person is entitled to sexual contact with anyone against their will or without their affirmative consent. Judging from the statements of some Republican senators, confusion surrounding this premise lies at the heart of the controversy engulfing the president's nominee to the Supreme Court. So let me be very clear. The standard for the Senate's decision whether to confirm a Supreme Court nomination is not the criminal standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. To the contrary, the burden of proof in a legislative procedure is to affirm confirmation for a lifetime appointment to the highest court in the land, and this must require the highest level of scrutiny imaginable, namely that this person demonstrates the highest level of moral character, including honesty, empathy, and compassion for all persons. So in closing, I applaud the courage and grace of Dr. Ford for her clear and compelling testimony today. I believe her, and I believe that our future depends on getting this right. And it's now my great pleasure to introduce Jess Davidson, a survivor and executive director of a wonderful organization called End Rape on Campus.